as it relates to the voice being heard, that actually can be included in one of the things that therapists can do moving forward. Whether you're promoting some message that you just now learned about, type of thing, it can be hard to do. But at the very least, there's doing more good, and then there's reducing some of the things that hurt. Again, less good versus bad. Try to get out of that polarizing ideas, like those unintentional offenses. Let's try to reduce some of those, like pathologizing things that you don't understand, like minimizing a voice. Oh, I felt like maybe, in a session with a client, maybe I didn't get that job because maybe I didn't fit what they were looking for. And the therapist says, that seems like you're taking a victim mentality, actually. Maybe you should own your role without actually taking an extra step to find out if there's any credibility to it. Validating that feeling, not affirming it, not proving it, but at least giving it some time, at least considering it. Or I feel like, in my interracial marriage, that my partner's family doesn't really accept me. And I think it might possibly be because we come from different backgrounds. Like, well, actually, did they say anything? Did they yell at you? Did they call you out of your name? Well, then maybe you're just over, and we pathologize stuff, we minimize stuff, all in a very positive, soothing voice, very gently, except we minimize an experience primarily because we've never had that, or it doesn't seem obvious based on our experience. And so to even take the time to ask oneself, is there a part of this that's a part of an experience that's just not mine? It's not a guarantee. It's not always going to be there. But at least taking the extra step to ask yourself, to listen to other people's experiences. It maybe even hearing it in one client, in one session with a client, may be a new term to you, maybe a new experience to you. And then a few sessions later, it comes up again and say, maybe this is more common than I thought, because your eyes open to it. Just being open to that. And then, like you're saying, I almost try to encourage people to delete the phrase, I completely understand. Only because it's a gut reaction. You compel the person to say, you can't completely understand if you haven't gone through my experience. I mean, that doesn't mean how dare you say it. It just means I understand enough to know that this might be your experience. Some people who mention that might experience that. Is that close? It's like, I know a little bit. And so can you help me understand your personal experience? I don't need you to teach me everything about everybody like you, but I know a little bit. So you don't have to start from scratch with me. But I do need you to personalize it to your experience. Just that willingness to be vulnerable. That doesn't mean you don't have your professional role in the room. It doesn't mean you're useless. It just means you know enough to own what you know and to still have room to grow. That openness can be a great gift to your client that says, okay, you're not trying to go too far, but you can help me. I will meet you halfway, or whatever the number is, and just that freedom to express without being judged preemptively or pathologized or minimized, whatever, can be a great gift. That's a gift that they may not get at home, in their job, in their friend circle, whatever. And if you can offer that, that's confirming the safe place that we're providing, and can be very affirming to their self-care efforts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just to piggyback on what Lambers is saying about, having it be okay to not know, right? And so it's also tapping into that part that can be teachable, right? And asking questions like, what is that like for you? What's it like for you to be in an interracial relationship? Teach me about that, teach me about what it's like for you as, how do you identify? Teach me about even how do you identify? Do you identify as a Black woman? Do you identify as a multiracial woman? Do you identify as a person of color? Do you identify as Dominican? So Black people aren't monolithic, right? We are a diaspora of beautiful backgrounds, Creole, French Creole, American French Creole, Haitian Creole. I mean, there's just so many layers of learning. And so being a student of a client and being able to be teachable, because I think a lot of times therapists have this, this ego of, I'm the therapist, I'm the expert, I'm here to teach you about what is wrong with you, right? Versus being a student of your patient, being a student of their life experiences, and seeing it as an honor to walk with them in their healing of themselves, right? Because they have a self, and having the confidence that they can, be healed, and that they're not broken.
Yeah, Amber, that really resonates for me because, so I was primarily a military clinician for most of my career. And I feel like I had to repress most of who I was. And I was introduced to the internal family systems model upon my retirement from the military, because I felt like I could finally embrace the different aspects of who I was. I couldn't, I wasn't just an officer. I wasn't just, a social worker. I was a whole being. And I was talking to some other officers the other day about how they're processing this time. And I realized that so many times or so often are we compartmentalizing who we are. Like I'm a therapist. I am a patient. I am a mother. We put ourselves in these boxes and we try not to let the boxes touch, if you will. It's messy when the boxes start touching. But one of the things that really resonated with me with what you were saying is the fact that I'm trying to remember, because it was so much that you said that was really good to me. But this idea of witnessing, of witnessing someone's experience. And I realized that I wasn't a good listener until I was introduced into internal family systems. I was a therapist and I thought I was really good at listening, but I realized I was always thinking about what I needed to say to be the smart person in the room, right? Because I have all the degrees and the credentials. I'm supposed to be the smart person in the room instead of just being a human being who's listening to the person who's sharing their experience. Yeah. Someone who's witnessing someone else's vulnerability. And especially as it pertains to grief, we have to witness, we have to listen, we have to hear from people who have not felt heard, seen, or valued. Mm-hmm. People who have felt unworthy of your time, of your resources, of your energy. You have to give that freely to them. And so I practice that with myself. Like I said, everything starts with me, for me. I practice that with myself, being worthy of my own time, my own energy, my own resources, right? I think in America, that's another legacy burden that we carry, is materialism and individualism. Everything's about striving and accomplishing and achieving. There's very little time for reflection and, meditation and just being with yourself in solitude. But I think it's the most important thing we can do, because we can't really be with someone else if we're not able to be with ourselves.